This is the Infinite Receiving podcast, helping conscious leaders tap into a wealth of abundance across all areas of your life and business. I'm Susie Ashworth, and I'll be sharing with you how you can upgrade your reality through quantum transformation, because you are ready for infinite receiving.
I am super excited to be having this first live recording of the Infinite Receiving podcast with the one and only Sinitta.
Thank you. It's such an honour. Do they know our story? Do they know a little bit?
Maybe a little bit.
We have the same birthday, the exact date.
Yeah.
The exact date. We've never met, and neither of us had ever met anyone with the same birthday before.
Yeah.
Each other.
And actually, it was a lovely Jenny that put me on to the fact that we shared the same birthday.
Mm-hmm.
The
19th of October.
Yeah, 19th of October. And what I had shared a little bit before is that the reason that I was so excited to find out that we had this mutual connection is because you have trailblazed for me.
Wow,
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
You were the first person that I saw on TV that had skin that looked like mine. And not just skin that looked like mine, but you were fierce.
Thank you.
We were just looking at the So Macho video. You were so full front and center. And I am curious, was that real? Like, were you feeling as fierce as you looked?
Well, that's a good question. Do you know, I think I was. I think I felt free.
Yeah.
I felt like, I love what you said, that I was the first person you saw, because that's who I wanted to be. I was kind of like, where are the black people on TV? How come there's no one who looks like me growing up? That was my age. So to actually be there and to be on Top of the Pops and in those places, it felt so good that I don't know if I felt fierce, but I just felt so alive, so excited to be there.
I know that you grew up in a musical family.
Mm-hmm.
We are very honoured to have the incredible Miss Brown here, your mum, sat in the front seat. Did you always know that you were born to be a musician?
I did, because I grew up in her dressing room, in my mother's dressing room, backstage, doing backing vocals, reciting, like I would sing along to her performances, like word for word, action for action. Yeah. And I'd say, when I grow up, I'm going to be in that show, I'm going to do that. And she'd be like, when you grow up, these shows won't exist anymore. Yeah. But I think I just wanted to be her. Oh. I just want, you do, don't you? You want to be your mom. And it was, that was her job, and it seemed like so much fun as well.
So what was your journey from being in the dressing rooms to actually getting your first record deal? Did you, when you speak now, you speak with such certainty. It's like, of course, that's what my mum did and that's what I was going to do. But were there any periods in that time where you thought, actually, is this going to happen for me?
Do you know, it's really weird, because I didn't set out to be probably famous. I just wanted to work.
Okay.
And my mother has such a high work ethic that for me, that example was, to me, success was if I could make a living doing what I love. So I was just seeking to be employed, really. And I worked really hard. And I kind of, did crazy things. Like I'd read commercial adverts for, castings, and they'd say, stunning teenager, female teenager wanted. And I'd tell her about it, and she'd say, you should go for that. And I'm like, yeah, but they said, well, you are stunning. And I would be like, but, the doubt that I was what anyone was looking for, that's what I had. I didn't ever doubt that I could deliver the job, but it's just, will they want me? Yeah. And I'd turn up to these auditions, and you'd see the directors and casting people visibly squirming, thinking, why is she here? I don't know, did you get like, you know, whispering and everything. And then I do my little performance, and you could see them sort of think, oh, she's actually good. I mean, you know, maybe could that be played by a black girl? No. Oh, who sent you? Well, I sent myself. Oh, okay, that explains it. Well, we've been thinking about it, that maybe the role of so-and-so could be played by someone like you, because of course they're not going to say a black girl. Yeah. And I'd be like, really? So I kind of had to go against the grain a bit, show up where I wasn't expected, and then people would think, oh, you know, why not?
How many times did people say, actually, no?
I mean, there were probably more no's. There were probably more no's, but I think at that age, you're so resilient.
Okay.
And you just keep going. You just keep going and you keep going. There were a lot of, you know, maybe next time, you know, come back next time, that kind of thing. But, you know, I just kind of followed the yeses. Yeah, I just followed the yeses.
So you got your first record deal at what age?
Oh, gosh, Hansa. So the first time a record company expressed interest, I was about 11 or 12.
Okay.
And I was given actually Mahalia Jackson albums, and Steve Rowland was sort of saying, look, you know, learn these songs and try to sing like this. But then I ended up signing to a record company called, I want to say Pi. And I signed with that company, and I did like some soul, sort of lovers rock sort of tracks that were nice. But at the same time, I was watching Madonna and just thinking, she seems to be having a lot more fun. You know, and I'd say, you know, can I sing song? No, because you've got that sweet sort of tone. You should be singing lovers rock like this. And I was like, I want to sing songs like Madonna. I met the very young Simon Cowell, who'd just been hired as the A&R man for an independent record label. They had no money, no hits, no artists yet. And I was like, you know, I'll sign with you, because there were a few labels kind of circling me. You kind of become a kid that they're watching.
Yeah.
So everyone was kind of watching and interested. And I chose him because I said, but can I sing pop? Because I want to have fun. I don't want to sing about, although heartbreak, I still did, but I didn't want to sing about heartbreak and despair and stuff. I wanted to be one of the happy people on TV. And he was like, if you sign with me, you can sing what you want.
And so you signed. And would you say that the rest is history from that moment?
Yeah, kind of, because that kind of, when someone believes in you and is prepared to put their money where, you know, where their mouth is, and just back you all the way, it's an amazing feeling, because it really releases you, you know, and even down to what am I going to wear and all of this. There'd be people, stylists and this, that and the other, and he would go, well, just let her wear what she wants to wear, you know, she looks like a pop star. Because in the 80s, you didn't have money. We didn't have money like the young people. You didn't have disposable fashion like you have now, where you can get amazing dresses and stuff for like £15. Nobody had any money. Everybody bought the same things from the army surplus store. But what we did is we customized everything to make it look different. And, you know, he thought, well, she looks like this is what kids do, so put her out looking like that, kids will get it. So all the mad fashion where people go, oh, you wore such crazy things, it was kind of like, that's what I could afford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like, when you talk about it, it sounds like you were just having loads of fun.
Yeah. And getting paid.
And getting paid.
It was like, really, I just get, you know, I can remember the first time being given lots of money after touring around. You used to have to go to every radio station. Back in the day, there wasn't this global radio. Every city had its own, you know, Viking or this or that sort of local radio station. So Simon and I would be in my little Mini driving around, taking our record to try and get them to play it. And then I'd do PAs and clubs. So I'd do like similar here, except I only had the one song, so I'd sing my one song and you got paid. I didn't realise that I was getting paid. And one day, the driver kind of went, I said, oh, you know, could we go shopping? Because I've seen some shoes, I think it was, I can't remember what the store was, Sasha or something. And I really like those pink shoes. You know, could we get those? And he looked at me and he was like, well, yeah, there's loads of money in the boot, it's all yours. I was like, oh my gosh. You know, so just even that, the concept of like having money and just doing things, it was great. I'm not going to lie, it was a good time.
Were you Simon's main artist at that time? Because the way
I was his only artist.
his only artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it sounds like that's where you forged the closeness.
Yeah, and that's how he learned the business. And in fact, I was kind of leading him a lot because my mother had an amazing musical career, you know, international, you know, hits. And I'd been on the club circuit and all the places, TV shows with her.
Yeah.
So I knew the DJs, I knew the gay clubs, I knew
Yeah.
the DJs in the gay clubs. So it was like, oh, if we could get to Ian Levine, you know, he produced my mom's record, so he might play our record. And
Okay.
so I'd be kind of, you know, showing him the way, really.
This is a familiar theme because when we were in the green room earlier on, we were talking about Kylie because you came from the period of Kylie, Jason, Rick Ashley, like it was the hit makers' machines and you were the guys making the hits. And you said something very interesting about Kylie.
Yeah,
Can you share it?
because people used to always be like, oh, you know, she's just like a black copy of Kylie Minogue. But actually, before I signed to Stock Aitken Waterman, I had So Metro out. The following year, I Should Be So Lucky came out. And the conversation had been, wow, have you seen this kid, Sinitta? If there was, can you imagine if we could find a little blonde girl like that?
Yeah.
Kylie was that girl. So Kylie was actually a white Sinitta.
I love that. I think it's interesting because the perception of you in the media is very different from, which I know happens with a lot of people who are in the public eye, but it's so interesting to hear you say, I was the one leading Simon. I was the one before Kylie. How does that sit with you now when people don't necessarily have that understanding or that knowledge? And I probably want to use the word respect for what you were doing at that time.
Well, it's kind of, I tell you what's difficult is things like what I loved when you wrote to me about us doing this is, you know, you were a little girl who saw that black face on TV and resonated with that. And that's what I really was trying to do. So I had difficulties like, you know, some of the black community who actually saw me as a sellout person or someone who was trying to be white because of the choice of music. And that was hard because it was like, no, I'm trying to be in there. I'm trying to represent. I'm trying to bring happy pop music to little black kids as well. Like, why can't we have happy music? You know, I remember being in Detroit when I was little, and my grandparents used to listen to blues, and it was as, oh, my wife left me. I'm gonna kill myself. You know, please don't make me have to sing, you know, stuff like that. Yeah. So I thought I was doing a good thing, so that hurt, I must admit. And actually recently I did a show called Celebs Go Dating, and they sent me on a date with this gorgeous black man, and he was strange, and it didn't kind of work. Well, it was strange because it just didn't happen, but actually it brought it up, it triggered me, because I actually thought, oh, you know what? Because he was talking about how he does a lot of stuff with Rastafarians, and he's very sort of embedded in the black community and the community work he does and everything. And so when he was being really evasive, I was like, I get it. You know what I mean? I'm not black enough for you.
Yeah.
It's how I took it.
Yeah.
And it was surprising because I didn't realize that I was still carrying a bit of that. And sometimes it's just annoying because people are like, oh, you know, what do you know? And it's like, gosh, you know, I've been around for a long time. Yeah. I've really done the graft, you know. I did the classes, I've done the lessons, I've done tons of West End theatre and films and acting and drama. And I've, you know, I'm actually quite a skilled performer who's really learned my craft, because my mother told me, well, if you're going to do this, you're going to have to really learn how to do this because it's a tough industry. And you don't want to be a flash in the pan. Well, it's like my 4th decade, you know? I mean, I'm still here. Thank you. Yeah.
You're still here, and I'm in the front row like, so much! I'm like, give me more!
Funny.
Like, it is incredible. I sometimes talk about the fact that my desire is to create a legacy that touches people who will never, ever know my name. And that is what you have done, because you were a permission slip. I didn't know it at the time, but you were a permission slip for me, because I really relate to that idea of course people have said no to me so many times, but I just followed the yeses, you know?
Yeah.
I just followed the yeses. My kids will do that because you did that first, you know?
Yeah, I love that.
And
Yeah.
that, for me, is so powerful.
Yay.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
The thing that strikes me about you, and everybody that I have spoken to who knows you, is that you are a happy human being.
Thank you.
And for me, that's the biggest and the best measure of success. And I wonder, talk to me about your journey to happiness is a big thing, but I'm curious, like, what is it now that brings you so much joy?
Wow, so much to. Do you know what? It's going to sound a bit corny, but I think it's years and experience and good times and bad times that actually you realize that just being appreciative, you know, I have so much to be grateful for, you know, and I am a spiritual woman, you know, I love God, so, you know, there is that too. But that realization that, wow, I'm healthy, wow, I'm still here, wow, my mom is here, wow, I have people in my life who love me, you know, I eat well, I sleep well at night. You know what I mean? There's just the basic things that are so huge, and those are the things that are important, because you spend your youth like chasing money, chasing other people's approval, trying to fit in, trying to fit places where you don't fit, all those things, and then you kind of arrive at a place where society has told us it's meant to be finished. Actually, it's like this landing pad of like, wow, I'm allowed to just be who I am and be happy. I'm entitled to be happy. Yeah.
Was there you know, people say life begins at 40, life begins at 50. You know, was there a point where where it landed, or is it just over time you gave less of a shit about what other people thought?
Do you know what's really funny? Because I sort of care,
Yeah.
but it doesn't penetrate my soul.
Okay.
You know, the disapproval, whether it's a look, whether it's a comment, whether it's an article.
Yeah.
You kind of understand that actually, in the grand scheme of things, nobody actually really cares. Even the people that are saying those things, they don't actually really care. They don't actually really mean it. It's that big in the grand scale of things.
Yeah.
So it's like your perspective kind of shifts. I think it's been gradual. I think I'm a very hypersensitive person, so I really needed to get to this place because I think I was wounded a lot by things. You know, I'd be like reading the news of the world. So funny, aging myself again. The newspaper doesn't exist anymore, but there used to be this Sunday paper that was the news of the world that would do crazy headlines. I was leading worship in my church, and I had to get to church one morning with headlines saying, insatiable Sinitta has sex 7 times a night with Simon Cowell, something like that, front page. And it was on the sort of placards outside the newsagents and everything as well. And I remember driving into church thinking, how do I stand on the platform, you know, with that there?
Yeah.
Now, it wouldn't affect me, or I would not want to come out of my house for days because you think everybody's talking about me. You know what, they're not.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a bit of get over yourself as well. Nobody's talking about you. Nobody cares. It's fish and chip paper tomorrow.
Yeah.
Don't let it bring you down.
How did you get on the lectern that time?
How did I?
How did you get up and speak that time?
I mean, you know, covered in shame. Covered in shame and guilt. And it wasn't true, and it was just a stupid headline. And, you know, I kind of had to just close my eyes and just like, God, I know you see me, and I had to just really, I think it made my faith so strong, because there's a lot of times when you do have to just, you know, just deal with it, just take it and keep going. But every time you do that, you're kind of like, oh my gosh, God, you're so faithful, because I'm through that and I'm through this. And the more you keep getting through things, you kind of realize, you know what, God has got me. I don't need to worry, sweat these stupid little things. Yeah.
Was Simon Cowell the love of your life?
Yes, he was. Yeah, he was. Because he was, he's the first person that I think I actually really fell in love with. And, we went through so much together, to go from, him driving my little Mini and in my little council flat, and us learning the business together to, suddenly we're on private jets laughing our heads off going, oh my God, how is this happening to us?
Yeah.
So it's just, and then of course for him to then have his career when he hit his 40s. So then we were like doing it all over again. And me thinking, how have you managed without any talent to be the biggest star in the world where even Obama is going, oh, everybody wants to be Simon. Like even the president knows who you are. You know? It was, again, really, really fun because Simon knows how to have fun. And he has that sense of, I think when you've done that journey, you've grown up together.
Yeah.
That means a lot because that's what you want. You want to create memories and, and kind of encourage each other. Yeah.
You're still in each other's lives now, which is beautiful. How did you deal with when you were no longer the love of each other's lives, like the separation? What was that story?
Well, I was crazy. I think publicly crazy, like no shame. But I think, there's so many things in life that don't prepare you for things that happen to you in life. And nobody prepares you for what happens when your heart's broken. You listen, what do you do? Sit and listen to sad songs. And it's hard. And also because it was so public. So I think in pride, I felt humiliated on top of all of that as well. So I'm thinking, well, everybody knows that I got dumped for the 20 years younger girl kind of thing. So, yeah, I think I was a bit messy. But, again, you've got to still get up, get dressed, get out there and deal with it. And it kind of does make you stronger. And for me, I didn't want to become bitter because I thought bitter meant angry, hard, tough, cold-hearted person. I'm never going to love again. I hate men, all of this. And so I didn't do that, and I wanted to keep a soft heart. But I realised that actually bitterness is actually, even when it's still playing over and over in your mind. Because I was haunted. I was genuinely haunted by the whole thing. I'd just be getting replays, and I'd be waking up at night, and crazy stuff because it's deep, isn't it? Like some cuts are very deep. But I think our friendship and love for each other, the fact that endured, so it gets to a point where you're like, you know what, you idiot, I actually want you to be happy. And he's happy, and he has this beautiful child, and the child is actually my godson, so, he's godfather to my children. So, you kind of weather through. And again, I think it's kind of strengthened even the bond and the friendship because you kind of learn to love unconditionally, which is another level. Yeah.
At what point were you able to say, okay, I'm letting it go and I'm going to let something new come through or something old come through?
Okay, I'm going to admit it took a while. It took a while because I was just numb, and I think I just didn't really want anything or anyone because I decided when I was 16 years old, I'll grow up and marry Simon. Yes, he's going to be crazy, we'll date other people, but ultimately, this is it. So I thought that was going to happen. So it took a while to come to terms with. But then you kind of wake up one day and you're like, I'm actually ready to share my life with someone. And, I started to go on these dating apps, which was crazy. I got kicked off of Hinge because they thought I was a fake. It was like, oh, great. And I was talking to like 5 really nice guys as well.
Who gets kicked off of Hinge?
I know.
Sinitta.
I know. Can't even get on Hinge. And then I did the dating show, The Celebs Go Dating, which, like I said, was a disaster. Like, none of the guys were really right for me, but I kind of thought, I've agreed to do it, so I'm going to have an open mind and an open heart. And I went on the dates. I think you can have instant attraction, so I didn't have instant attraction, probably to Daniel, the black guy I was telling you. But I was kind of like, wonder why they fixed me up with this chap, because he's not my type at all. But then I talked to them and sort of get talking, and I sort of thought, wow, you know, I've still got quite a lot of immaturity where I'm like, you know, he's got to be so much, you know. And it's like, actually, what you really want is a decent, kind, fun, you know, God-loving, generous, sexy man. And all those other things
Just
are not... just that. But you know what I mean? That kind of what in my head of what I thought. I also
Does he need to have a vision?
Oh, he definitely has to have a vision.
Yeah.
A lot of vision.
Yeah.
He has to be my best friend.
Yeah.
Because I like people that I know.
Yeah.
So that's what's hard about dating. Because normally, like when you're growing up, it's someone that was around or at school or something like that. I never just went on dates with random strangers to see if we can have a relationship. So it was kind of weird like that. Yeah, like, hi. Sure, oh, is this going to work?
Yeah.
But I kind of learned what I was looking for and what I
Yes.
do want. And that's when you realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm in a different place now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you might have found somebody that you like a little bit.
Well, I might have found somebody. Yeah, I mean, I made friends with someone for actually over a year ago.
Okay.
And such a lovely person, so lovely. Didn't think that he was for me, that I was even introducing him to all my best friends. Like, you've got to meet this guy, he's amazing. It's literally like this.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah. I know, I was trying to set him up with well, two of my friends that are here tonight. Would have set him up with my mother, but, you know. In fact, my mother would have him, so I'm glad I didn't do that. But yeah, only to sort of realise that actually, you know what? Oh my gosh, I've done it again. I've created or entered into an amazing friendship with someone that I can fall in love with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
Really amazing.
Yeah.
So I'd love to go back a bit, because for me, when I'm thinking about dating, I'm also thinking about the kids and the relationship that I have with the kids and the relationship that they might have with my kids.
Yeah.
But your kids now are significantly older.
Yeah.
And I would love to just talk about, you adopted your
Yes.
children.
Yes.
And I would love to hear about that journey, because for me that is so special to be able to love.
You were adopted as well, right?
I was fostered.
Fostered.
Long-term fostered is essentially like adoption. And so to be able to, I've had the experience of people who are not my blood loving me the way that everybody else loves their kids. And I think that is, having been a stepmom as well, is hard. And so
Hard?
I think that it's hard to take on other people's children. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm really interested to
Yeah.
just hear your experience and why you went down that route.
Okay, because it's funny you said that, because I think I didn't find it hard. Because I did marry years ago as well, and my husband had 2 children from his first marriage, who I adored, and still adore, but they're big adults now. I wasn't really setting out to adopt. I was always going to, I thought I'd have one child and adopt one child. So I always wanted to adopt at some point. I don't know why, it was just something in me. But I never had issues with that. I think because my mother and I were such a small little family, it's just us. So she always had an open house, lots of friends that we treated and felt were like family. So it was like that for me. But I'm still very much involved with, the fostering adoption agencies. And I always say to me that love is thicker than blood, because sometimes biological families don't get along,
Frequently.
It doesn't, it's not always amazing just because of that. But I think there's something about choosing and being chosen that is beautiful. It's like falling in love, isn't it?
Yeah, I was chosen, and that meant the world to me. So it's such a gift that you went down that route.
Yay. And they are gorgeous. You should see them. I now have people that I look up to, which is daunting. But they are their own people.
Yeah.
It's very different because they've grown up with social media, with, they have a very different outlook to me in life. So you kind of learn through them. But actually, my son's foster mother is here as well. So you know what I mean. It takes. They say it takes a village, and the village doesn't have to be all in one one place. It's the heart of the village, really, isn't it?
How have you navigated that piece, being a mum, where there's lots of different outside influences? They have social media. There feels like, for me, my biggest fear with my kids is that it's even easier to lose a sense of self when you're in constant comparison, when you're constantly wanting to keep up with the Joneses, and you don't even understand what that means because you were literally born looking at the Joneses and thinking, how am I the same? How am I different?
Your life, the whole culture is about comparison.
Yes.
Comparison. Well, I mean, I've had everything. My daughter's come through it now, but my daughter's been, I think she was bisexual, she was transsexual. Like every 2 weeks she would come back and she was something else. And I was like having to just roll with it.
Yeah.
She was like, but you're godmother of pride, so it's fine, right? Because I think I want to be known as him now. And I'm thinking, you are so girly. I'm not going to say anything. Okay, so what we're going to call you? And of course my son's going, oh yeah, let's call her Alfred then. And I'm like, stop. Like, we've got to take this seriously. Okay, Fred then. And I'm like, stop. So so we treated her like that. My mother, we went with it. And then within a few weeks, she wasn't that. But it's because there's so many options being offered. And I think it's hard because we do need to be there. We do need to support and be inclusive. But I do think it's hard for kids because when they're trying to find themselves, it used to just be, do I like football? Do I like cricket? Now it's like, am I transgender? Am I cis? And they're asking themselves all these questions that I don't think you naturally would unless you genuinely had a sexual difference or preference.
What I hear is that you chose acceptance and love, acceptance and love, acceptance and love.
That's all you can do because you don't know when it's real or not. So you have to take it seriously because you don't want to be the mother that has a suicide or something because you didn't understand or you weren't there or you didn't support. But I do think that a lot of those questions wouldn't be there if society wasn't the way it is now. And I'm not saying society's wrong, but I think it's harder for them.
Yeah.
It's harder for them.
It's harder for them. And I don't know, maybe your mum would say exactly the same, or my mum would say the same. It's like whenever there's a new generation, there's a whole new thing that you're dealing with that you haven't had to deal with. So maybe they'll be saying the same thing, that it's always harder and it's just part of the cycle.
Yeah.
When we chatted before, you were like, I want to talk about sex.
I mean...
And I am curious, how has that changed for you over the year, your relationship to your own sexuality?
Again, I think it's like, sex is great when you're an adult, when you're grown up, when you know who you are, what you like sexually, and all those things. Because I think when you're younger, you're kind of, again, influenced by what you're being told is sexy or what you're supposed to be or how it's supposed to be. And there's something about arriving at a place where you're like, I know exactly what I like, exactly what and you're not afraid to ask for what you want.
Yeah.
It's a very different, it's again, it's a big mind shift, but it might be personality types, because I think if you're I think I was quite I'm not going to say, I don't mean, I'm going to use this word, but you guys are going to go, oh, and I don't mean it like that. I don't mean submissive as in...
BDSM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean just as probably compliant.
Compliant.
Where I was very much led by a man as a younger woman.
I think for me it's been super interesting since my separation to be able and willing and wanting to go through that journey of exploration. And I've heard over the years when I was a lot younger, oh yeah, sex as a 40-year-old woman is so much better than sex as a 25-year-old woman, etc., etc. And I couldn't quite get my head around it. And now I can.
Yeah, you're like, oh, no, I get it.
And now I get it. But I think the biggest opening for me has been about the relationship that I have with myself. Because often we're looking to be met. But if you can't meet yourself, how can you guide somebody? How can you tell somebody? How can you ask somebody for what it is that you want if you don't know how to meet yourself? And so much of that journey has been about self-exploration, self-pleasure, and allowing myself to just surrender to me. And that has been a very beautiful journey.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to that, getting better and better and better and better and better and better and better.
Yeah. And society, again, it's different now. I think girls are so much more confident. I mean, I see some stuff and I'm like, you know, just the attitudes. They've got so much attitude and sexual confidence, and it's like, okay, maybe it's very, I think, again, it's very different for them, because I think, you know, I went to a very strict, all-white, British boarding school, you know, and it was really, really old school, standing up for the prefects, and, you know, I had elocution lessons. That's why I still don't have an American accent.
Yeah.
It was very sort of rigid and proper. And so, you know, but thankfully I had my mom at home. So I got sort of a bit of a balance, but this thing of like, oh, this is who I'm meant to be, but this is who I really am, and trying to, you know, sort of navigate that. But, you know, you weren't encouraged to be a sexual creature when you were younger, or to know what you want, or to want anything, even. You know, it was all, you're all supposed to be very chaste and, you know, nice.
How old is your daughter?
She is 17 now.
17.
Yeah.
So do you have these conversations with her?
Unfortunately, yes. She leads the conversations, and I'm like, okay, you know, because again, acceptance and love. Stay calm. It's fine. But she's, you know, she's very opinionated. She's very aware. She's very bold, you know, and confident and about all things. And she probably enjoys watching me squirm a little bit. You know, and I'm like, you know, like we're going to Ibiza for her birthday, for her big birthday, and you know, it's like I thought that was a big event.
Yeah.
The night before we're going, she's like, oh, can I go to a club with my friends? Because you can't really say no when I'm 18.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can't I? My mum could still say no to me when I was 18, you know. But it's just like they're gonna live their lives, and I just feel like I've just got to still be me, not try to become so modern that I'm not myself.
Yeah.
So at least she can see from here to there.
Yeah.
And just try and be here and pray. I hope she's safe. Hope it's okay. But you can't kind of go, you can't do this, you can't do that. You know, like my mom could. You know, and still tries to.
Have you had to mop up any mistakes?
Constantly.
Yeah.
Constantly. But it's amazing but kids are so resilient. I think she's more robust, more resilient than I am, because she just kind of dusts herself off and keeps going. And I think very young me, I was like that, because you sort of hit challenges and I think you just keep going. But of course, as the mom, we still feel it. She's fine, and I'm still going, oh my God, you know. But yeah, we've been through a lot. My mum and I are kind of the mom and dad in this situation, and yeah, it's rough, isn't it? It's really rough. I mean, I just say to people, as much as I always encourage people, like to adopt, to foster children, you know, but raising kids is hard, especially when you're on your own.
Yeah. So you were married for 8 years, is that right?
Yeah. Well, I would say I was married for 5 years, and it took 2 years to get divorced. Yeah.
When you got married, did you think that it was for life with him?
I mean, I wanted it to be. I did believe, I knew within a year that there was going to be problems. But I had this thing where I wanted to marry a Christian man. And my ex-husband pretended to get saved. And so I had this whole kind of, it wasn't a fake relationship. He's actually a lovely man, but I think I was very religious at that time, more religious than spiritual.
Yeah.
And so when he turned out that after a year was sort of going, look, all this church stuff, I don't really want to do it. I didn't really get saved, but I do love you. I want to be married to you. Did that so we get married, blah, blah, blah. To me, as an overly religious person at the time, I kind of went, oh my God, get behind me, Satan. You've come to... You've come, what does this mean? Da, 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 and kind of panicked, like, oh my God, well, who, now what? So I think once you've lost that, what it was is it attacked me at the level of trust.
Yes.
Because it was kind of like, I'm the worship leader. Like, I can't, you can't do this to me. So when things started to sort of unravel, I wasn't surprised, and I was the one who left. Because I kind of thought, look, I'm not going to follow, I can't follow you around the world now because I don't trust you.
Yeah.
If you say we're moving to Hong Kong, I can't come with you because I lose my whole support network. I have 2 little children. And now I'm in Hong Kong with this man who I don't fully trust.
Yeah.
So that's why I got out.
I mean, I'm curious about how you evolved from overly religious to spiritual. How did that happen?
Life, and also when you really love God and you really love people, like one of the things that didn't add up for me was a lot of the church is very anti-LGBTQI, and you are not welcome in church if you're gay or lesbian, trans, and all these things. And as a kind of gay icon, godmother of pride, it was like, I want my people in church. I want these people in church with me as well. And you just start to realize, wait a minute, so God so loved the world. It doesn't say God so loved the world except the LGBTQI community, except the trans community. So I kind of, once I started to really challenge that within church, I kind of learned God's heart rather than what the Old Testament rules, because all sin is sin. Is if same-sex relationships are a sin, then so is sex outside marriage, because those are also listed as sins. So we all sin. So is lying. So is coveting other people's things. So is stealing. Like we all do. We've all done something, but God still loves us. And you can't be religious once you have that, because it's not about the rules. It's not about what we do. It's what Jesus did for us. And once I got that, it was like, penny dropped. Now I can, actually help heal people and reach people properly with what we're really supposed to know about God, instead of, okay, you've got to, burn 3 sheep and eat 15, all the Old Testament rules. It's not like that anymore.
What's next for you?
Oh my God, I don't know. Do you know what? I just love life. I love, like I said, I love the fact that I'm still here, still healthy. I love working. I love love. Things are just really good. So I'm just like wanting more of just to be around and to keep going. Yeah. What do you want? What do you want next? Apart from your own TV show, Oprah.
World domination!
Yeah.
It's interesting because I don't really talk about God so much in my teachings, but I was sharing earlier on, like, if everybody knew their greatness, if everybody knew that they were a conduit and a generator of infinite love, if everybody knew that they were fully supported at all times.
Yeah. Regardless, despite whatever. Yes.
And that from that place that we can create and receive anything, really. Like, the sky is, well, one of my mentors says the sky is not even the limit. Like, it is limitless.
Yeah.
That would be a different world. It would be a different place. And so for me, my desire is to share that message and the tools for understanding that and living that with as many people as possible.
Yeah.
you know.
That's amazing. Yeah.
That's what's next.
That's what we got to do.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Infinite Receiving with me, Susie Ashworth. I'd love to share with you my Infinite Receiving activation audio. Go to susieashworth.com/activate infinite receiving.